Oh, it is 3 hours
Yeah,
long.
according to
Okay.
this, TOEFL shorter, IELTS 3, and IELTS gives you three. No, it gives you 2 breaks.
Okay.
Mhm. Check this out.
Between the TOEFL IBT and the IELTS academic exams, I want you to worry no more because in this video, we are going to break down the key differences between these popular English language proficiency tests, and I'm going to help you determine which one is right for you. So stay tuned until the end of this video and let's dive right in. Now, before we continue with the video, I do want to let you know that I have a gift for you. If you are ready to
What's going on with our connection?
Maybe
if
you
are
should
struggling to decide
select a different resolution, no?
No, but it's not the computer is powerful enough.
No, but the internet connection, no? It's
No,
not.
and also it is wired. I have a phone
Yes.
with gigabytes. That doesn't make sense. Let me check. And also, you and me were streaming, so that doesn't make sense.
if you are struggling to decide between the TOEFL IBT and the IELTS academic exams, I want you to worry no more because in this video, we are going to break down the key differences between these popular English language proficiency tests, and I'm going to help you determine
No, I think it's the video. Because this doesn't get affected, you see.
And TOEFL with Yuva. Many of you have asked me, which test should I take, the IELTS or the TOEFL? I took both tests, the IELTS and the TOEFL, and today we are going to have a look at all 4 parts of the tests, and I'm going to tell you where they differ and where they're similar. And in the end, you should be able to decide which test is for you. Let's get started. Let's start with listening. IELTS listening has 4 parts. You listen to conversations and a talk or a lecture. The questions in IELTS listening are a mix of fill in the gap and multiple choice questions. IELTS listening is especially challenging for 2 reasons. First, you must answer the questions while you're listening. And this can be incredibly hard because while you are writing down your answers, you still need to listen because otherwise you may miss essential information that you need in order to answer the next questions. The second reason why IELTS listening.
Don't touch. Hands off.
Oh, I thought Silvana sent me this message, this video in a message, but I thought it was about IELTS and TOEFL. I'm,
Don't lie.
I don't like. What do you mean?
Then I just put I found this.
Yeah, but I
Didn't
thought it was
say
about the IELTS. I
no.
thought.
But it's interesting too because it's a little girl.
Yes, because it's a little girl. That's the reason. Oh yeah, I have seen it. I want to talk about it, and actually, it has a strong connection with vocabulary because, like,
Yeah, that's why I sent it because you say that we have to practice more vocabulary with that exam, and this girl is every single video is about I don't know if it's her mom, but I think so. So her mom says, I don't know, don't touch, and she says coloquial, no,
mm,
idiomatic.
expressions. Idiomatic
Yeah,
expressions.
yeah,
Yeah, I have seen her videos. There's another girl that also does that, and I think that was actually something I like to put, for example, in my Instagram account. I'm working with Yesi with some posts in which we use these kind of expressions and how to replace easy vocabulary with more complex vocabulary.
yeah, that's right. Yep.
I agree with you. Uh-huh. But anyway, this is useful for the speaking part. Let's talk about the IELTS and TOEFL, and then we talk about it. Let's check this one.
Is quite challenging is that there are fill in the gap questions, and for these questions you need to understand the exact word or words that the speaker mentions. This means that you need to listen very closely. If you miss a word that you need to enter into a fill in the gap question, you are usually lost, because unless you make a correct guess, you won't be able to figure out the word that you need to fill in. Also, for fill in the gap questions, you need to pay attention to the spelling of a word. You need to spell this word correctly. If you understand the word that you need to fill in, but you spell it wrong, you don't get the point. The answer is wrong. Let's go on with TOEFL listening. In TOEFL listening, you listen to conversations and lectures. There are only multiple choice questions, no fill in the gap questions. The main difference between IELTS listening and TOEFL listening is that in the TOEFL, you don't answer the questions while you're listening. Instead, you first listen to the recording, and after that, you have to answer the questions. This can also be quite challenging, because this means that you need to take notes when listening. In TOEFL listening, you will listen to a ton of information. And so you need to figure out which information is relevant so that you know what you need to write down. Also, taking notes can distract you from listening attentively to the recording. My tip for you is check out which test format you like better. Do you prefer listening to the audio and answering the questions at the same time? Or do you prefer listening to the recording first and answering the questions afterwards? Also, if you have difficulties spelling English words correctly, you may want to consider the TOEFL, because there you only need to answer multiple choice questions. Let's go on with reading.
That's listening. What do you think, Isaac, about IELTS listening in comparison?
And no, it sounds more difficult. Yes, it sounds like something challenging. You
Oh,
have to
wow.
write the word
Mhm.
while you are listening the audio and to the audio, but
Mhm.
also you have to spell it correctly, no?
Yes,
Yes, that's the hardest part, I think. I think that, well, it sounds difficult.
correct. Plus, you need to spell the words.
Yes,
You may be listening the right word, but if you write it wrong, then they will lower
your score.
your score.
Uh,
For me, that's the most difficult part. Sometimes I write double P's, double T's where they're not supposed to be, double G's, and I hate spelling. I always miss it. There's a word. What was the word? I usually change the vowels in the word. Definitely. Uh-huh.
mm,
We're definitely with DEFE or DEFI. That's my issue.
uh, no, yes, yes. Now I'm not sure how to
Now you're
write
not
this
sure
word.
either.
Yes.
That happens to me so much. So much. Like I type it in the Oxford Dictionary, and then I always get the this word doesn't exist. Did you try to say definitely? Oh, I wrote it wrong. It's DEFI, not DEFE.
Okay, now
That's the issue with the IELTS, the principal thing. Anyway, and yes, as you say, you need to be answering while you're listening. So that is the biggest issue for many students as well.
no, yes, that's difficult.
Mhm. So yes, listening can be hard. Reading.
In both tests, you have to read several passages and you need to answer questions regarding these passages. And also in both tests, there are several question types and I'd recommend checking out these question types before so that you know what will expect you in the test, because this will make it a lot easier for you to answer the questions correctly. Also, for both tests, the IELTS and the TOEFL, you need a reading strategy. It does not make any sense to read the passages in detail, because then it is likely that you won't manage to answer all the questions in the time given. Let's go on with my tip.
How did everyone suddenly get so good at writing? WordTune. It's your writing.
Okay, sorry.
Although IELTS reading and TOEFL reading are quite similar, I find IELTS reading a bit easier than TOEFL reading. When I took the TOEFL, I really had to hurry up in TOEFL reading because the passages were very long and complex, and I also found the questions quite hard. In contrast, when I took the IELTS, I even had time left at the end of IELTS reading. The passages were not so complex and I also found the questions a bit easier. So if you struggle with reading, you may want to consider the IELTS because this may be a bit easier for you. To get an idea of IELTS reading and TOEFL reading, have a look at the websites of the examiners, because there you can find free practice tests for TOEFL reading and IELTS reading. Let's go on with writing, and let's start with IELTS writing.
Reading is easier in IELTS.
Okay, yes, well, I remember that it was something really difficult in TOEFL.
Yes,
There were a lot of technical words, especially. Well, I think that the texts are like more for students or focusing on a specific field.
correct. Do you remember the length of readings in TOEFL?
The what, sorry?
The length. Length is how long something is.
Ah, okay, yeah, yeah. Come on, I remember that I felt that I didn't have enough time to complete the reading.
Because it's a whole article, no? And it's
Yes, it's almost one page of text.
correct. In some cases, it's actually a page or a page and a half.
Yeah,
But in IELTS, you will see only a text. That is sometimes it's like 4 paragraphs, and that's the most. Mhm.
okay,
I
yes,
agree.
it sounds easy.
Totally, I agree with her. Okay, writing.
In IELTS writing, there are two tasks. In the first task, you have to describe something, for example, a map or a chart. In task 2, you need to write an essay, and there are several question types, for example, agree-disagree questions or advantages and disadvantages of something. In the TOEFL, there are also two writing tasks. Task 1 is the integrated essay. In this task, you first read an article and after that you listen to a lecture. And in your essay, you must state the arguments of the writer and the counter arguments of the lecturer. Task 2 is the independent essay. This task is quite similar to task 2 in IELTS writing. You need to write an argumentative essay, and there are several question types. The main difference between IELTS writing and TOEFL writing is task 1. In the IELTS, this task is quite factual. You have to describe something, a chart or a map, whereas in the TOEFL, you have to present arguments of somebody. Also, in the TOEFL, you need to combine information from the article and the lecture. And this can be quite challenging because it means that you need to read the article and understand it, and you need to listen to the lecture and understand what the lecturer is talking about. You don't need to do that in the IELTS. In the IELTS, you get your chart or your map and you just need to describe it. But the two tests also differ in how you have to write. Of course, in both tests, you need to use a broad range of vocabulary and more complex grammar so that you show the examiner that you are able to write sophisticated texts. But from my experience, IELTS writing is a little bit harder in this respect. In IELTS writing, you have to make sure that you use a lot of different sentence structures if you want a high score. And therefore, I think that TOEFL writing may be a bit easier. My tip for you is this: figure out what type of task you prefer. Do you prefer describing a map or a chart, or do you prefer talking about different arguments? Also, remember that in the TOEFL, you have to read an article and listen to a lecture and combine this information in task 1. So you should be able to do that if you want a high score in TOEFL writing. Overall, if you struggle with writing in English, you may want to consider the TOEFL because I think it's a bit easier. Let's
Okay, what did you get here?
Well, I thought that IELTS was easier, but I haven't considered the criteria for the evaluation of each task. So it is a little complex to use like different structures. Um, but TOEFL also seems difficult because you have to read. Well, I understood that you have to read, to listen, and then write the essay, no? So
Yeah,
it is also like complicated because if you are missing any part, it could be like, well, I'm not sure if, for example, I imagine that if you use wrong information, it will like make you get less points, no?
correct.
A lower score. So yes, I think that they seem the same for me, and both of them are difficult.
Yep, I agree with you because they have different levels of difficulty. And
Yes.
eventually you need to gather all your abilities into one. Like if in the case of TOEFL, you need to understand a lot to be able to copy paste in your speech, paraphrase a little, use different grammar sentences, probably use other expressions to replace vocabulary that you read, find other ways to explain the same thing to paraphrase correctly. But if you understood, if you didn't understand, it will lower your score. On the other hand, on IELTS, they really take into consideration the level of vocabulary and the correct grammar use. If you are using correct structures, a variety of structures, and if you're using very basic structures, or like only simple present and simple past and probably a have been, that's definitely a low score writing. So,
Okay. Yes. No. Each
mhm,
one has its difficulties.
yep. Mhm. I prefer IELTS. I think it's easier to use different structures than to listen and read. Like the TOEFL writing has uses three abilities.
Yes.
I think it's only vocabulary and then grammar.
Yes, maybe you're right.
Probably. Probably not. For some people, grammar is so difficult, but at the end, TOEFL doesn't tell you explicitly, hey, use different structures, but it's like under understood that you need
Yes,
to
it's
use different
something
structures.
that you are assuming, no?
Exactly. That everybody's assuming if you're taking a TOEFL is because you mastered the structures. That's the issue.
Okay,
Which
yes.
one would you pick in this
I
case?
don't know.
Interesting.
I think that I asked.
Why?
I don't want to read and listen and then write an essay.
Okay.
I,
Essay.
I essay. I think that it could be more difficult.
Mm-hmm. That will be hard. Mm-hmm. Well, I agree with you. IELTS will be easier to do because you will have more time to consider what you're writing and everything. Mhm. Okay, just give me a moment because Jessie is here. Hello, Jess.
Yeah, sure.
Isaac came.
Hello, Mr. Good night. Good night, Isaac.
Good night.
Thank you. Well, I am going to pay assistant, but I only see to Isaac.
Yes.
Yes, and Silvana, but she's not
And
she's not enrolled.
Exactly. She's in
oh,
a
bye
different
bye.
watching Teletubbies or something.
Oh, hello, say good night.
Hello,
Thank
Jessie,
you.
good night.
So, well, thank you to be here and see you tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Good night.
Beautiful lady. Good night.
Bye bye.
So the reason that I ask you this is because there will be probably two more students in this group, and both of them have told me that they want to train for certification. So the abilities that we have been practicing in class is like vocabulary expansion, all the topics that we have read and all the readings, the videos, and the pronunciation tasks, etc. My main focus is enhancing vocabulary, making you wider on vocabulary. The practice for IELTS is kind of similar, but now we have an objective, like passing an IELTS with a 7.5. So if they join, we will probably do this switch. But I want to make a similar strategy as we are doing in this moment, like to read a lot, to listen a lot, to practice the same way we're doing it, and then 2 or 3 times a week do IELTS oriented tasks. What do you think about this?
Yes, it was okay for me because I mean, it is useful to practice. I mean, and that's what I want.
Exactly. Mhm.
Yes.
In the case of Silvana, because whenever if they come, they will come for this month or next month, and that's probably the months where you will be joining back.
Yeah, it's okay for me too. I don't like exams,
I know.
but it's okay.
No, actually, I would like that Silvana takes a certification exam.
That would be great.
Yes.
That would be great because yes, at least if it's not a TOEFL test, which is very demanding, probably an IELTS can be a good option. Mhm. Well, let's see. Let's see how we do. Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, this is going to be news for this week or next week because these guys are still like checking their schedules and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you know when we will start. Meanwhile, we're gonna
Okay.
keep on going with the same format. All right.
Okay, yes, I agree.
Excellent. Very good. Go to rest because you're sick.
Yes.
Get yourself
Okay.
some medicine and relax.
Yes. No, I just want to sleep.
Go to sleep, my friend.
Okay. Thank you. See you.
I'll see you later, guys. Bye bye.
Mm.